Good day, students. I hope everybody is doing great. Good. Today, our main strand is geometry and measurement. Our substrand is geometric reasoning. Under the geometric reason, we are going to talk about the transformation, and one component of transformation is reflection and how the motion of objects move around the cardinal points. These lessons have been taken from the new curriculum of Basic 6, strand number 3, substrand 1, content standard 1, indicator 1. The same lesson can also be traced on the new curriculum of Basic 5, strand number 3, content standard 1, substrand 1, and then indicator 1. Okay, good. Now, when you talk about the cardinal points are used to show directions, okay? And basically, we have 4 main cardinal points. We have the north, south, east, and west. The object can be found between the north and the east. The same thing, object can also be drawn between the north and the west. The object can also be seen between the south and the east, and the south and the west. Therefore, the north has been divided into 2 equal parts, that is northeast and northwest. When you talk about northeast, is the area between the north and the east. Northwest is the area between the north and the west. When you talk about the southeast, is the arena of south and what? East. And then when you talk about the southwest, which is the area between or the arena of what? South and the west, that is southwest. So these are the 4 cardinal points here. So you will see several diagrams being transferred from one cardinal point to another cardinal point based on the motion of that particular object and the component that will be changing from one point of cardinal to the other point here. Now, let's talk about number plane. When you talk about number plane, the same as graph sheets or graph board. The graph sheet or graph board consists of only 2 perpendicular lines. The graph board or graph sheet consists of only 2 perpendicular lines here. The lines are the horizontal lines and the vertical lines. The x-axis, which is also called horizontal line here. The x-axis is the perpendicular line that we draw from the right to left or west to east, which is also known as horizontal line. It has 2 numbers, positive numbers numbering at the right side of the number plane and the negative numbers at the left side of the number plane. So this is the x-axis. The x-axis are also called the horizontal line, or the horizontal lines are also called the x-axis. The axes are the lines. When you talk about the y-axis, the y-axis are also called the vertical line. The y-axis is the perpendicular line that we draw from the top to down or north to south, which is also known as vertical line. It has 2 numbers, positive numbers, which have been numbering at the top of the origin of the number plane, and then the negative numbers are below the origin of the number plane. And when you talk about the origin, is where these 2 perpendicular lines meet, the vertical lines and the horizontal line. The intersection of these 2 lines can be found in the middle of this side here. Okay, and this line here that we call it what? The y-axis. That is the y-axis or the vertical line. The top of the origin are numbering in the positive, and then the down or below the origins are numbering with the negative. That is the opposite of the positive numbers. And when you talk about the x-axis, which is also known as the horizontal lines, they are the line that we draw from the left to right or the east to west. With this, the left side of the x-axis are numbering negative, while the right side of the x-axis are also numbering positive. So these are the two lines that we are talking about. So we have only two perpendicular lines, two straight lines that intersect to form what? The origin. The intersections of these two lines here is the origin, and normally we use 0 to represent that. Okay, good. Now, once we know our number plane or the graph sheet, we must also know the coordinates. Okay, so basically there are also two coordinates that form a point. Before you can draw a point on a number plane, you need to have the two coordinates on a number plane or graph sheet or graph board. They are the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So these two coordinates are the x coordinate and the y coordinate. Always the x coordinate comes first. So the x coordinate, the x coordinate is the first number of the coordinates. All the x coordinate can be seen or found on the x-axis or on the x line or on the horizontal line on the number plane or graph sheets. So this is how we can locate the x coordinate. All the x coordinates are found or can be seen on the x-axis or on the horizontal line. When you talk about the y coordinates, the y coordinate is the second number of the coordinates, and all the y coordinates can also be seen or found on the y-axis or on the vertical lines or on the y line, okay, on the number plane. Okay, good. So the coordinates here, we have the point P formed by x and y, or K here formed by the x and y. So point K here is formed by the x and y, can also be written in the horizontal way or in the vertical form. The two coordinates are the x coordinate and the y coordinate. Okay, and we said all the x coordinate can be seen on the x axis, and the y coordinate can also be seen on the y axis. Great. Now we are going to talk about the transformation. Transformation means change. When objects change from one cardinal to the other cardinal. And before this change can occur, we have certain components responsible for that. The change can transfer from the northeast to northwest, or southeast to southwest, or southeast to northeast, or northeast to southwest. So an object can be relocated within this four cardinal points due to the transformation, and we have these components responsible for forming this object from one cardinal to another. One of the components that we are going to talk about, or one of the components that can change object from one point to another, is a reflection. The reflections is also the component that change object or a shape from one cardinal point to another. And within the reflection, we have the two types of reflections. We have the one that occurs on the x-axis and the one that occurs on the y-axis. So these are the two types of reflection that we have. Let's see the reflection on x-axis. When you talk about the reflection on x-axis, the x-axis will serve as a mirror line to reflect the object directly opposite to other cardinal points. So when you say reflection on x-axis, we use the x line to be the mirror line to reflect the image to the opposite of the other cardinal point. Okay, so whenever there's a reflection on x-axis, then it means the x line is the mirror line or is the mirror that reflects the object to the other cardinal points. And that one, when you are standing in between the mirror or in front of the mirror, your image will be formed directly opposite to the mirror. Okay, so the same thing applies to this one. Whenever there's a reflection on x-axis, the x line, the vertical line, will be the mirror to reflect the image. Okay, and their image will form directly opposite to the object. Okay, good. On the other cardinal point or the cardinal place. Now, in mathematically, we can also do the calculation to also agree with the graphical interpretation. What we said was the graphical interpretation, how you can use the graph to determine reflection on x-axis. But you can also do the manual calculation to also identify where the object can also be reflected to. So in mathematically, when you say the reflection on x-axis, simple put, protect the x coordinate and negate the y coordinate. Okay, so you put this one in your mind. Whenever there's a reflection on x-axis, it means protect the x coordinates and negate the y coordinate. And when you say protect the x coordinate, it means you are not going to touch the x coordinate. You write exactly the number that will be given to you as x over there, and then you negate the y coordinate. So you write the x coordinate as it is over there, and then you put a negative sign in front of the y coordinate, irrespective of the status of the y coordinate. Whether the y coordinate is already having a negative, you will still put another negative, okay, in front of that. So make note, this is a what? A false statement, and there is a command to. So you have to protect the x coordinate. And when you are protecting something, it doesn't mean that if the number is a negative, make sure it's positive, David. So if it is a positive, you leave it as a positive. If it is a negative, we leave it as what? Negative. You will not touch that particular number. So you write exactly what is given to you, but you negate the y coordinate by putting a negative, irrespective whether the number given is a negative or positive. You still put a negative on the y coordinate. That is reflection on x-axis. Then let's talk about the reflection on y-axis. When you talk about the reflection on y-axis, when you're using the graphical interpretation to reflect the image, therefore, the y-axis will serve as a mirror line to reflect the object directly opposite to the other cardinal point. So whenever there is a reflection on y-axis, we use the y-axis or the y line or the vertical line as mirror to reflect the object to the other side. Okay, so the object will be directly opposite, okay, to the object. So the image that will form on the opposite of the object will be an opposite, because one image is reflected on a mirror, definitely you see it in directly opposite over there. Okay, that is a graphical so you can use the graphical line or the Y line to serve as a mirror to determine where the image will appear. Or if you want to do the manual calculations to determine where the image will appear, then in mathematically, they protect the Y coordinates. So when you are using the manual calculation to determine where the image will appear on the other cardinal place or the other cardinal point, therefore, you have to protect all the Y coordinates and negate the S coordinates. Whenever there's a reflection on Y axis, you protect all the Y coordinates and negate the S coordinate. Protecting the Y coordinate means you will not touch the Y number. If it is a negative, you write the negative. If it's a positive, then you write the positive. But you negate the S coordinate. And when you are negating the S coordinate, it has no condition whether the number is a positive or a negative. If it's a negative, you still put a negative sign in front of the negative. If it's a positive, you put what? A negative sign in front of what? The positive number, which means that you negate all the S coordinates. Good. But when you are protecting the Y coordinates, you will not touch. Make note of that. You will not touch the Y coordinate. When you are protecting something, you will not touch it, okay? You guide it. So if the number is positive, you guide as it is. And if it is positive, you guide that one as it is, okay? So don't go and then transform all the positive number into negative whilst you are protecting something. No, protecting me, you will not touch the number, okay? Good. So these are the two types of reflection that changes objects to reflect to the other cardinal point, okay? And reflection is one of the components responsible for changing object to the other cardinal point, okay? Good. Let's do one more examples on how to plot a point and join them to form a shape, and how the reflection also occurs when object is reflected on x-axis, and then when object is also reflected on y-axis. Okay, good. Now, example. Using a scale of 2 centimeters, using a scale of 2 centimeters to 1 unit on both axes on a graph sheet. Then this is the scale that we are going to use on what? On our graph board or the graph sheet. When you talk about the 2 centimeters on the number plane or graph sheet, it means from the origin where the two perpendicular lines meet, where you have indicated 0 to show the center of the cardinal point. You measure the 2 centimeters intervals, or if the origin is located on a deep line. So the graph, you have the deep line and the faint line. So from a deep line to another deep line is 2 centimeters. From a deep line to a faint line is 1 centimeter. So make note of that. So when you are drawing your X and Y axes, you choose a deep lines, and therefore from a deep line to another deep line will be considered, or is what, 2 centimeters. So in that order, okay? And therefore, 1 unit means your numberings on the axis. The numbers on the axis, whether on the x-axis or the y-axis, supposed to start from 1, 2, 3 in a counting form, okay? So 1 unit is starting from 1, 2, that is 1, 1 intervals or 1, 1 differences. So using a scale of 2 centimeters to 1 unit means When you move from the origin, the distance between the next unit will be the 2 centimeters. So you measure the 2 centimeters, or from a deep line to deep line, that will be the 2 centimeters. But the 1 unit will be 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the difference of 1, 1, 1. Or in a counting form, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to that. Okay, on both axes. Mark the axis, mark the x-axis from -10 to +10, which means that on the x-axis from the origin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 10, and then 0 to -10. Okay, the 0 will be only 1 0 for all the 4 numbers that will be listed on the graph sheet. So make note of that. And y-axis, you numbering from origin starting from the 0 to the positive side, which is the 12, and the 0 to the negative side, which will be on the 12. So carefully divide the graph into 2 equal parts, and then you'll be able to achieve this numbering wall. Plot the point P formed by the 3 and 2. The 3 and 2. We learned something about the coordinates. We have the x and y coordinate. Okay, we said always the first number here belongs to the x coordinate, and all the x coordinate can be found on the x axis. The second number here belongs to the y coordinate, or is called y coordinate, and all the y coordinate can also be found on the y axis. So the point P here is formed by 3 and 2. The intersection of the 3 and 2 lines will give you point P. When you come to the point Q here, we still have the x and y. Always the first number belongs to the x, and the second number belongs to the y. So all the x coordinates can be traced or can be found on the x-axis, and the y coordinates can also be found or traced on the y-axis. When you come to the point R here is also formed by 2 coordinates, the x and the y coordinates. Okay, all the x coordinate can be found on the x-axis, and the y coordinate can also be found on the y-axis. When you finish with the points, then you join the points PQR to form a triangle. So let's quickly solve this one and then come back to the other questions. Now, let's proceed. The question that you read, there was a certain coordinate they asked you to plot. Now, the coordinate, the first point is what? Point P, formed by 3 and 2. So you write the point. You're going to plot this one here. Point P here is formed by 3 and 2. Then point Q here is also formed by 8 and 2. And 2. And then point R is also formed by 5 and 10. Okay, good. Now, these are the points that you are going to join here. Okay, the question that we read. Okay, good. Now, point P. We said point P is formed by Let me put these things here. Okay. The point P is formed by 3 and 2. So the 3 here, this 3 here belongs to the X. Okay. So you are going to check the X, the positive side of the X axis. And we said the horizontal line here, that is called the X axis. Okay. And then that is the X axis. So our 3 will be here. And then the 2 is also the positive of what? Of the Y. So here the 2 here is the Y and here is the X. Okay. And that is the X. Okay. So on the Y line, you are going to search for the positive numbers, which can also be found at the top of the origin here. And that is the positive number here. So this line is the 1, this number here is the 2. So they will meet here. Okay. Now that is 3 and then the 2. Okay. Let me use a proper symbol to indicate that. So the 3 and 2 here, that is the meeting point. Then let me write the coordinates attached to that. That is point P, formed by 3 and 2. Okay, good. Now you are done with the point P, which is the point P formed by 3 and 2. Now the point Q here is what? 8. Here is 8 and what? And 2. So the 8 here belongs to the X. Okay. While the 2 here also belongs to the Y coordinate. So we still have the X and Y coordinate. So all the X coordinate can be found on the X axis or on the X line, while the Y coordinate can also be found on the Y axis or the Y line. So we have the 8. First, you always check for the X first. So the X here is the 8, which is the positive 8. So you come to this side here. Okay. So here is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the 8 line. Okay. Good. That is the 8 line. And then the 2 on the Y line, that will be here. Okay. Good. So that is the intersection. So let me join it well. Now that is the 8 and 2. Okay. Good. Therefore, you write the coordinates attached to the points that you just put. So point Q here is formed by 8 and 2. Okay, good. Then you write the coordinate attached that, which is the 8 and 2. Okay, good. Then the last point that you need to plot here is what? The point R, which is 5 and 10. The 5 belongs to the X and the 10 here belongs to the Y. Okay. Now all the X coordinates can be found on the X axis. So you're looking for the 5 on what? On the X axis. And this is the 5 line here. Okay. Good. And then the 10 on the Y line, which is the positive at the top here. And that will be the 10 here. Okay. So they will definitely meet here. Okay, good. So here is the 5 line and the 10 line. Okay, good. Now let me stick it well. So here will be the intersection between the 5 and the 10. So you write the coordinate name here, and that will be point P or point R here formed by 5 and 10. Okay, good. So you attach the coordinate to the point. Good. Now we have our points. All the 3 points have been plotted here. And then the question asks you to join the points together to form a shape. Okay, good. So we are going to join these points together to form a shape here. Now, let's see our shape. So we are going to join the first one here. Okay. I'm going to join the first one here. And that will be this point to this point. After then, you join this one to this one here. Okay. And then you join this one to this one. Okay. Good. Now, the question asks you, what's the name given to the point PQR? Because it has 3 sides here, don't waste time to tell us the type of triangle. Just tell us this triangle, okay? Because it has 3 sides here. So any plane shape or 2D shape with 3 sides is called triangle. So we move on. So that is the first question that you have done here. So this is how you plot and join together. Okay, good. So that was the question that we solved. Okay, point P was given to us 3 and 2, and then point Q 8 and 2, and the point R 5 and 10. So let's move on to the next question. Good. Now the next question here says what? Using a scale of 2 centimeter to what? 1 unit on both axles on the graph sheet. Mark on the x-axis from -10 to +10, which means from the 0, which is the origin, to the +10, and from the same 0 to what, to the -10 on x-axis. And then you move on to the y-axis, you number from -12 to +12, which means from the origin, which is the 0 to the +12 on the y-axis, and then from the origin to what, which is the 0 to the -12 on the same y-axis below the origin. Okay, then plot the point P, which is formed by, so let's write the coordinate down so that you can use it to plot a wall. So which is formed by 1 and 2, and point Q here is also formed by 8 and 1, and then point R here is also formed by 4 and what, and 10. Good. So you join the points P, Q, R here to form a triangle. Okay, good. Now let's go and plot this one and come back and solve the reflect triangle PQR on the x-axis. Okay, so let's go and solve the first one to form the type of triangle, or the triangle that will form with the PQR. Okay, good. So we are going to form this one here, PQR here. Okay, good. Now let's quickly write our points that we're supposed to plot here. Okay, so point P here is formed by 1 and 2. Okay. Then point Q here is also formed by 8 and 1. Then point R here is also formed by 4 and 10. Good. That is 4 and 10. Good. Now with this, let's quickly plot our point here. He said the point P is formed by 1 here and 2. The 1 here is the X and the 2 also is the Y. Okay, good. Now we have our X here and the Y. Okay, you first indicate the X and Y on each coordinate. So here is the X and the Y here. Okay, and here is the X and the Y. Always the first number belongs to the X and the second number belongs to the Y. And all the X coordinate can be found on the X axis and the Y coordinate can also be traced on the Y axis. Okay, so let's quickly solve this one here. Good. Now with this, we have the point P. The point P is formed by the 1 and 2. So 1 can be found on the X line here. That is the 1. And the 2 is here. Okay. So let me choose. So that is point what? P. Then you write the coordinate name. That is point P. Formed by 1 and 2. Okay. That will be point P. Okay. Good. And then point Q here is 8. The 8 is on X axis, which is the positive 8 and 1. So positive 8 and 1. And that is the positive 8 and the 1 is also here. So their meeting point will be here. So that is the positive 8 and 1. Okay. And then you write the coordinate name. That is point Q here, formed by 8 and 1. Then point R is also formed by 4 found on the X and the 10 found on the Y. So we have the 4 line here and the 10 will be here. Okay. Then you indicate the intersection between this line here. That's the 10 line here. Okay. Good. And the 4, they will meet here. Then you write the coordinates for that. You write the coordinate, which is point R here, formed by 4 and 10. Good. Now, the question asks you to what? To join the point to form a triangle, okay? Then you join this point here to form a triangle. And now we have our point here. So if I join these 2 points together, okay, we have this point here, and then this point here together, and then the point R and Q together to form the shape here. Okay, this is triangle. Okay, good. Before you move back to the question asks us to reflect point PKR on X axis. And before you do the manual calculation, let's study time things here. Well, okay, let's be in touch with this very careful, because once a point is reflected on X axis, so there is the X line. Okay, the X lines, they are the horizontal line that we have it here. We are both positive and then the negative. And whenever you said when a point or a shape like the triangle PQR here is reflected on X axis, it means this line here is going to be the mirror line, because whenever a shape or a point is reflected on X axis, the X line will be the mirror line to what? To reflect the object here, so that the image will form directly opposite to what? To the other cardinal point. Okay, so this object here is located at northeast. So when this object here is reflected on X axis here, rather the X axis, therefore the shape will form or will be reflected towards to the southeast, and that is where the image will appear here. And the distance from the mirror line to the object is the same distance from the mirror line to the image that will form. So make note of that. So whenever there's a shape or object is reflected on X axis, this X line here will serve as a mirror line to reflect the image to the directly opposite where the cardinal point. So that is the X line. You first identify the X line because the reflection happening on X axis. So the X line will be the ahwehwɛ to reflect this object to form the image at where? Southeast. Okay, that will be the directly opposite. In the opposite way. Okay, emetoha and emetoha. Though X line or but image be any but baby image no one in the opposite. The baby I refer no one or anymore baby. Okay, good. And in mathematics, we said if you want to do the calculation for that, whenever there's a reflection on X axis, it means we are going to protect all the X coordinates and negate the Y coordinates. Okay, so you protect all the X coordinates and negate the Y coordinate. Now, let me calculate that one here. Okay, it's rather unfortunate that you don't have enough space here, but we will do the calculation, don't worry. So, reflection on X axis. Which means that you protect all the X coordinates. So our new point for point P here, it will be point P here, will be P1. You are protecting the X coordinate, so do not touch it. And then the y coordinate will be negative with what? Negative sign here. So you negate the y coordinate. So whenever there's a reflection on x-axis, protect all the x coordinates and negate all the y coordinates. So all the y coordinate here will suffer with a negative sign. So here will be -2. That will be the new point 4. Okay. The other point will be K1. Because you are protecting the x coordinate, will not touch the s coordinate. So you write the same number over there and then negate the y coordinate, and that one will suffer with -1. Good. Points out here, whenever there's a reflection on x axis, the new image here, because we have the point out already, you have to relabel the out to get R1, okay? So that to make a difference on the number plane here. And then you are not going to touch the x coordinate. So you write the same number 4, but once you are protecting the s coordinate, the y coordinate will suffer with a negative sign, and here is -10. Okay, good. So that will be the answer here. So our new point that we are going to plot here is this. So you are going to plot these things here. Good. Now we have let me give different colors. So that is the reflection on x-axis. So we are going to plot this one. So the P1 will be +1 and then -2. So the +1 and -2 will be here. Okay, +1 and -2. Okay, good. Then you write the coordinates here. So P1 is formed by +1 and -2. Okay, good. That is the P1 formed by that. Then you move on to the other coordinates, which is also formed by +8 and 1. So it will be the +8 and 1. Then you write the coordinate for that. Okay. So here will be the K1 formed by +8 and -1. Okay. Because that point is reflected on what? On x-axis, and you are protecting what? The x coordinate and negate the y coordinate. Okay, good. And then the last one is 4 and 10 formed by R1. So that is the 4 and the 10 is here. Okay, so that will be the R1. So this line 4 and the 10 will be here. Okay, good. So you write the point name. Point is point R1 formed by 4 and 10 and -10. Good. Now, when you finish, you join the points together to form a shape. Okay. Good. Now, you first join the points P1 and Q1. Okay. with a straight edge, okay? And then you join points P1 and R1 with a straight edge, okay? So the P1 with a straight edge here, and then you join points Q1 and R1 to form a shape here, okay? So now it's obvious that the distance from the mirror line to the object is the same as the distance from the images here to the mirror lines here, okay? And whenever there's a shape reflected on x-axis, the x-axis or the x-line here will serve as a mirror line to reflect the image. And this is how the object will be, okay? And if you want to use the manual calculations, therefore, reflection on x-axis means protect all the x coordinates without touching them, but negate all the y coordinates with a negative sign. So, okay, so we negate them. So this is how the shape will form. Now, the question was also asking about the same point PQR here. This point PQR here is reflected on y-axis. We are done with the reflection on x-axis, where the x-axis will serve as a mirror line. So this time, the y-axis here will serve as a mirror line here. The question says point PQR, not point P1, Q1, and R1. You say point PQR, so we are referring to the first image here. So if the first image here is reflected on y-axis, the y-axis here will serve as a pressure to reflect this image to directly opposite here, okay? So that is exactly what you're going to do. So whenever there's a reflection on y-axis, it means the y-axis will serve as a mirror line to reflect the object directly opposite. So when the object is formed within the north and the east, then, and at the same time, the y-axis is serving as a mirror line, therefore the image will form within the north and the west. That will be the directly opposite to what? To the object. So the image will be here. Or if you want to do the manual calculation, the reflection on y-axis means you are going to protect all the y coordinates and negate the x coordinates. Okay? You are going to protect all the y coordinate and negate the x coordinates. Protecting means you will not touch that particular coordinate. The actual and the other coordinate, which is the x, will also suffer with a negative. So let's quickly solve that one. Let me shift this calculation to this side. Okay, let me shift it to this side and then do the other one here. Now, reflection on y-axis means you're going to protect all the y coordinates without touching the y coordinates, and then we negate the x coordinates. So our new point will be the P2 because we have a point called P1, another point called point P. So the new point will be the P2. So point P2 formed by, because the reflection happened, the point P2 here formed by the 1 and 2. Once the 1 and 2 is reflected on y-axis, it means we should protect the y coordinate and negate the x. So the x is -1 and 2. You are protecting, so you are not touching the y coordinate. Now, point Q2 is also 8 and 1. And when point Q2 or point Q 8 and 1 is reflected on y-axis, it means you are going to protect all the y-coordinates and the x-coordinate will suffer with a negative sign. So we have the -8, and then you will not touch the y, and it will be the 1 because it was 1. Okay, good. Then our new point here, which is R2 of point R here. So if point R, which is the 4 and 10, is reflected on y-axis, it means you are not going to touch the y coordinate, but the x coordinate will suffer with a negative sign. So therefore here, the x coordinate will be a -2, -4, and +10, because we are not touching the y coordinate, so you protect it by writing the same number over there, and then the x coordinate will suffer with a negative sign. Good. Now, once you have done, we have our calculations here. Once you have done, then you can also put this one here. So now you are going to plot this one, the reflection on y-axis. It means negative, the point P2 will be -1 and +2. Now looking at this one here, we have -1 and +2 here. Okay, that will be the point P2. Let me write the coordinate here. So that is point P2 formed by -1 and +2. Okay, good. Now, then point Q2 is also formed by -8 and +1. So that will also be the intersection of that. So that will be point Q2. The Q2 is formed by -8 and +1. Okay, good. Now, therefore, point R2 here is what? Is -4 and +10. So we have the -4 here, and then +10. That'll be the intersection. So you write the coordinates. So the point R2 here is formed by -4 and then +10. Okay, good. Now, when you're done, you join the points together to form a triangle. Okay, so you're going to join the points together to form a triangle. So I'll first join the point Q2 and P2. Okay, good. Then I'll join the R2 and what? And the P2. Then I'll join the points R2 and the Q2. Okay, good. Now, like what I said, whenever there's a reflection on y-axis, the y-axis or the one line here would be the mirror line to reflect the object to this side. and the distance from the object here to the mirror line is the same as the distance from here to the object, okay? And definitely the distance from here to here is the same as the distance from here to here too. Now, looking at this one here, since this one is the mirror line, therefore the object will be directly opposite to the other side, okay? Good. And now that is our new images. So this triangle here is called triangle P2, R2, and Q2. Okay, good. So make note of that. Whenever there's a reflection on x-axis, protect all the x coordinates and negate the y coordinates. Or the x-axis will serve as a mirror line to reflect the image directly opposite to the other side. Or whenever there is a reflection on y-axis, protect all the y coordinates and negate the x coordinates. Now say the y-axis will serve as a mirror line to reflect the image to the directly opposites. Okay, let's quickly solve the other examples. Now, the question that we solved, we said whenever there's a reflection on x-axis, so let's write the solution and solve it clearly here for you. Good. Good. The reflection on x-axis. Which means that you should protect the x coordinates and negate y coordinates. Okay. Okay. So the reflection on x-axis means protect all the x coordinates and negate the y coordinates. So if let's assume the point P here is formed by 1 and 2, okay, the P1 will be, you are protecting the x coordinate, so you write the x as 1 and then you negate the y coordinate, that will be the -2, okay, good. The point Q here is reflected on x-axis with 8 and 1, okay? So the 8 and 1, the new coordinate here will be the Q2. So whenever the point is reflected on x-axis, you are going to protect the x coordinate. The x coordinate here is what? Is 8, okay? And then the y coordinate will suffer with a minus sign, and that will be the 8 and -1. Therefore, the R point out here is what? Is 4 and 10. Whenever point reflected on x-axis, it means we are going to protect the x-coordinate. The x-coordinate here is the 4. You will not touch, or you write the same number over there. Protecting means you write the same number without putting any mark on it, okay? And then the other coordinate, which is the y coordinate, you negate it with what? A minus sign here, and that will be a -10. Okay, that was the calculation that we used to plot the other one. Then, whenever there's a reflection on y-axis, whenever there's a reflection on y-axis, it means we protect all the y coordinates and then we negate the x coordinates. Okay, good. So whenever there's a reflection on y-axis, let's do the calculation for that. So if point P is formed by 1 and 2, and this point P here is reflected on y-axis, it means you are going to protect all the y coordinate, and here the point name will be P2, okay? So once you are protecting the y coordinate, you write the 2, and then the x coordinate will suffer with a negative sign, which will be -1 and +2. The point Q here is 8, is formed by 8 and 1, okay? And when point Q here, which is 8 and 1, is reflected on y-axis, the new point name will be the Q2, and therefore the new coordinate will be, because you are protecting the y coordinate, you write the 1, because the 1 here is the y, and then you put negatives in front of the x, okay? So you get -8 and 1. Point R, when point R here is 4 and 10, and when 4 and 10 is reflected on y-axis, we protect all the y coordinates, and then we negate the x coordinates. That is directly opposite to the reflection on x-axis, okay? Therefore, here you will not touch the y, so you write the same thing here. If it is negative, you write the same negative. If it is positive, you write the same positive. But the effect will be on the x coordinate that will suffer with a negative sign of, and then here will be a -4 and 10. Okay, good. Now let's solve the last example here. Using a scale of 2 centimeters to 1 unit, it's not always that the scale will be 2 centimeters to 1 unit. It could be 2 units. Will start from numbering, will be the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and co. Okay, good. But the 2 centimeters from a deep line to deep line is a 2 centimeter, or from a faint line to another faint line is 2 centimeters. So make note of that. But from a deep line to a faint line is 1 centimeter. Now, let's assume that you finish, we will plot this one. So let's do the calculations first before we do our plotting. Now, the reflection on x-axis. So the reflection on x-axis here, it means You are going to protect all the x coordinates and negate the y coordinates. So that will be how the calculation will be. Therefore, looking at this one here, point P is negative 10 and 2. So here, when you have the x and y, the reflection will be, because you are protecting the x coordinates, you will not touch the x coordinates because the reflection happens on the x axis, which means when you're using the graphical interpretation, the x-axis will serve as a mirror line to reflect the object directly opposite to the other side. Okay, good. Now here, the y coordinate will suffer with a minus sign here. And this is how the format's supposed to be. Okay, good. So when we take point P here is 10, negative 10, and 2. Okay. So when point P, which is negative 10 and 2, is reflected on x-axis, it means you will not touch the x coordinates. So you write the same number over there, which is negative 10, because the x coordinate is negative 10 already. Okay, good. So you not touch it. You not change anything about the x coordinate, but the y coordinate will be negative with a negative here, and that will be a negative 2 here. So that our new coordinate will be the negative 10 and negative 2. So that will be the P1, okay? We label the point. Because of we have the PP, we have to identify the next P, which is the P1. Okay, good. 1 point Q is also reflected on x-axis. We have the negative 2 here and 2. The point Q here is negative 2 and 2, which is the x is already negative. So you protect without changing anything. So here, let me write the point name first. So K1 will be, because here is already negative, we are protecting, so you will not change it, okay? You write the same number over there, but the y coordinate, which is the 2 here, will suffer with a negative sign. That is when there is a reflection on x-axis. You always protect the x coordinate. And here we have the negative 2 and negative 2. Then point R here. Point R is also formed by negative 2 and positive 10. So when you have the negative 2 and positive 10 reflected on x-axis, so the new point name will be R1. Therefore, you protect the x because the reflection happened on the x-axis. So you protect the x coordinates without changing anything about the x coordinates. So it's already negative 2. So you write the same number as it is here. And then once you are protecting this one, then the other coordinate, which is the y coordinate, will suffer with a minus sign. So here will be minus 10. Okay, good. And that is that. So once you've done the calculation, then you plot your points here to join a particular triangle. Let me do the next calculation before you go to the drawing board or the graph board to plot our coordinate. Let's see the reflection on y-axis. The reflection on y-axis means you are going to protect all the y coordinates and negate the x coordinates. Okay, good. Good. Now Now, when you say the reflection on y-axis is the directly opposite to the reflection on x-axis. So whenever there's a reflection on y-axis, the y-axis line or the one line will serve as a mirror line to reflect the object to the other opposite. And then if you want to use the calculations, it means protect all the y coordinates and negate the x coordinates. Simple as that. So here, if point P is, let me write the formula here first. So this will be our format that we are going to follow. If this coordinate here is reflected on y-axis, it means the y-axis is going to be protected. So you write the y first, and then you negate the x coordinate, okay? Because it's reflected on y-axis. You protect the y coordinate without changing anything on y coordinate, and then you negate the x coordinate. So you are using the same point PQ out to reflect on y-axis. So point P here is what? Is -10, -10, and +2. Because this point here is reflected on y-axis, it means you are going to protect the y. So you write the same number without touching the y or without changing anything. And then you negate the x coordinate. And remember, the x coordinate here is already having negative. So it will be a negative, and then this will be the -10 here. Okay. You have no other option. Okay. Then, therefore, once there's a negative here, it will be a -10 against +2 here. And whenever a negative and negative meet in opposite like this, it tends toward positive, and here will be a +10 and 2. Okay, so that is how. So this point here, that will be the final answer, point P, point P1. Okay, that will be the point P1. Now let's see point Q. Let me start the point Q here. Point Q is also formed by -2 and 2. And when a point Q, which is -2 and 2, is reflected on y-axis, it means you are going to protect the y coordinates. And here, the y coordinate is 2. You will not change anything about the y coordinate. You write the same number over there, and then the x coordinate will suffer with a negative sign, and it's already negative, so it will possess 2 negatives here. And now, when it has 2 negative, it will tend toward positive to be 4. No, it is thought to be what? Positive, which will be +2 and 2. +2 and 2 here. Okay. Then, and here will be the Q2. Okay. 2. Then the R2, the R here, so here is P2, okay, and this point here is point Q2, okay. So let me write the R here. So the R here is also formed by -2 and 10, okay. So once you have the -2 and 10, and when this point is reflected on y-axis, you protect the y. So here we will not change anything about y. And here we suffer with 2 negative because it has already possessing a negative sign. So you attach the new negative to it. Okay. And when the 2 negative meet directly opposite like this, it will tend towards positive, and here will be 2, positive 2, and positive 10. Okay. And then at that point, or that coordinate will be point R2. Now let's quickly solve on the graph sheet. Okay, good. Now let's solve the question that we just solved. Okay, good. Now the first point or the coordinate that was given to us is point P. Point P. Point P formed by negative 10 and 2. Negative 10 and 2. And then points Q here is also formed by negative 2 and 2. Okay. And then points out here is also formed by negative 2 and 10. Okay. So we are going to plot this one before you do the reflection on x-axis or on the y-axis. Now looking at this one here, the first point, which is point P here, for the last question that you are solving, is negative 10 and 2. The first number always belongs to the x, the second number belongs to the y. So negative 10 or the x coordinate can be found on the x-axis. The y coordinate can also be found on the y-axis. So we have the negative 10 and 2. We have the negative 10 here, and the 2 will be here. Okay. So you know, waste my time, you plot that one. So we have the negative 10 and 2. And that will be the negative 10 and 2. Okay. Then you write the coordinate name. Write the coordinate name here. You write the coordinate name, and that will be point P formed by negative 10. by negative 10 and 2. Okay. Now, let's plot the other one, which is the Q. Point Q here is formed by negative 2 and positive 2. So we have the negative 2 here, and then the positive 2 on the y-axis will be this line. So this line is 1 and this one is 2. That's the number 2 here. Okay, good. And then you write the coordinate name. So the point name will be the point Q formed by negative 2 and 2. Okay. 2. Good. So then point R here is negative 2 and positive 10. And that's negative 2 here and positive 10. So they also form here. That will be the negative 2 and positive 10. Okay. So you write the point name. That is points out here is formed by negative 2 and positive 10. Okay. Good. Now, once you are finished, you join the point to form the shape. Okay. So I'm going to join this point here to form a shape here. So we are joining the points out and so we have the point out here. And the join 12. Okay. And then okay. Then join this point together. Okay, now you have your shape here. Now the question further asks us this point PQ out here is reflected on x-axis. And when you say a point is reflected on x-axis, so this is the x line, okay? So from here to here is the x-axis. And then when this shape here is reflected on x-axis, it means the x-axis here will serve as a mirror line to reflect the objects directly opposite here. Okay, good. So that is how to use the reflection or the graphical interpretation as far as the reflection is concerned. So whenever there is a reflection on x-axis, the x-axis will serve as a mirror line to reflect the image to the other side or directly opposite to that. So once here is a mirror, Therefore, here will be the image position. Okay, good. Now, or if you want to use the mathematical, or if you want to use the calculations method to solve this one, whenever there is a reflection on x-axis, it means protect all the x coordinates without changing anything about the x coordinate, but you negate the y coordinate. Okay, so you write something about reflection on x-axis. Okay, which means that we are going to protect all the x coordinate and negate the y coordinate. So when you have the P, point P, which is -10 and 2, because you form a new point. So here will be P1 formed by, you are not going to touch the x coordinate. So it's already -10, not going to change anything, but the y coordinate will suffer with a negative sign. And that will be a -10 and -2. The Q2, the Q1 here also reflected on the x-axis, which means you are not going to change anything about the x coordinates. So you write the same -2 over there, and therefore the y coordinate will suffer with what? The minus what sign. Okay, and here will be a -2. Okay, then whenever the point of R here, that is R1, before you can get R1, it means the point R is reflected on what? The x-axis, where the no way you are going to touch the x coordinates. So you write the same -2 over there, -2, and then the y coordinate will rather suffer with a negative sign, which is a -10. Okay, and the answer here will be -2 and -10. Okay, so we are going to plot this one here, and then you make sure you plot this one to form another shape. Now we have -2, P1 is -2 and -1. Now we have the P1 here, -2, that is -10 and -2. -10 is here and -2 will be here. Okay, then you write the coordinate name. That is P1 formed by -10 and -2. Okay, good. Then the Q1 is -2, -2. Okay, so this is a -2, and here is a -2. So you write the coordinates, the Q1 formed by -2 and -2. Okay, that's -2 and -2. And then if R1 here is also formed by what? The -2 and -10. So this is the -2, and here is the -10. Okay, so that will be the -2 and -10. That will be the positions here. So write the names here. R1 here is formed by -2 and -10. Then Join the points together to form a shape. Now, have this point here. Now, that is the shape, the image of point PQR here. So we said the distance between the objects to the mirror line here is the same distance between the image to the mirror line here. Okay, so these are the same as that. Now let's quickly solve the last one. This is what the reflection on y-axis. One point PQ out here. So this is the PQ out here. When this point is reflected on y-axis, the image will be here. So whenever there's a reflection on y-axis, we protect all the y coordinates and negate the x coordinate. Okay, good. So you write something here. Y-axis. So our P2, that will be the new coordinates name. So here will be P2 formed by, because we have the negative, then we said we should protect the y coordinate and negate the x. So here will be negative x, and the negative x here is already having negative. So it will be negative, negative 10, and positive 2, which will be the same as positive 10 and 2. Okay, like what you did over there. Then the Q2 will also be the negative, negative 2. The you negate the x coordinate. So the x coordinate is already having a negative. So the two negative will turn to positive. So we have the 2 and 2. Okay. Then the R2 here, which will also be the negative 2 and 10 reflected on y-axis, means we are going to protect the y coordinate without changing anything on y coordinate, but you will negate the x, but the x is already possessing a negative, so the negative will be 2. So negative, negative 2 will be positive. Okay, so we have the positive 2 and 10. Okay, then let's put this one here. Okay, that is the reflection on y-axis. So the P2 is what? Positive 10, and that is the positive 10 and positive 2. That is the positive 10 and positive 2. Then right here will be the P2, P2 formed by positive 10 and 2. Okay, so that is P2. Then Q2 is positive 2 and 2. So the x first and 2 here. So that will be the P2, Q2 formed by positive 2 and 2. And then R2 is also followed by positive 2 and 10. So positive 2 and then positive 10. And that will also be here. Positive 2 and positive 10 will also be here. Okay. And the name is what? You write L2 formed by positive 2 and positive 10. Okay. Then when you're done, you join the points together to form a shape. Okay. So join the points together to form a shape. Okay. Now you have done with the reflection on y-axis. And you said whenever there's a reflection on y-axis, the y-axis here will serve as what? As a mirror line here. So this y-axis will serve as a mirror line. This shape is reflected on y-axis. That is exactly why when this shape is in front of this mirror line here, the image will appear in the mirror like this, and that one will be the directly opposite to the other point. Okay, good. Or in mathematics, if you want to calculate the reflection on y-axis, means protect all the y coordinates and negate the x coordinates. But already the x coordinate was already having a negative sign. So when you add another negative, it will turn to positive. That is why the R here, point R, which was negative 2 and 10, tend to be positive 2 and positive 10. Okay. So always you must also use the graphical interpretation in line with the calculation codes. The reflection on y-axis means protect all the y coordinate and negate the x coordinate. The reflection on the x-axis means protect all the x coordinates and negate the y coordinates. That is the end. Thank you for watching. See you later.